What's up everyone, welcome back to Let's Play. Oh my god, I almost did it again. Welcome back to Let's Play Demon Souls. In the last episode, I fell off that ledge. In the beginning of this episode, I almost fell off that ledge. God. Luckily that ledge is the forgiving one that just drops us back down to the beginning and forces us to make the ascent up here. Now, out here, I think we get to the point where we can actually progress with the level and start finding the series of meandering chambers that leads downwards. Have to go up before you can go back down. This is, I think, the 4th floor, either west or east side. Let's see. East. That's fine. East side! And this is a very familiar sight. Waiting to... Not even gonna backstab him. I'm just gonna pop up on a thin column. Oh, he was too stupid to live. Evolution deemed him obsolete. He couldn't see me hiding behind that. Well, let's just keep progress smooth. I love this Dragon Longsword, especially at +4. Oh man, it just wrecks every... Sneaky, sneaky bastards. Thought they were gonna jump out from behind either side of the wall and ambush me. Just stick me with their little shivs. No one sticks me with tiny things. I prefer much bigger things. Ha ha ha. Nasty little prisoners. God damn it, Dave. Enunciate your thoughts. Latria drives me nuts sometimes. Although, to be fair, I haven't gotten lost yet, which doesn't seem like something I should feel that proud of, given that I've gone through so little of it so far. I'm almost positive one of these has a guy inside waiting to jump out and stab me. I know I've said that about probably 3 other Iron Maidens so far, but the ones clumped up here, I think, all have treasure inside. Corpses with treasure. So I'm gonna guess that the lone solitary one off on the corner is sitting there with a dunce cap on its head. I'll edit the dunce cap in. I probably won't. I have a friend, by the way, named Duncecap, and he earned that nickname because he bought a $3,000 computer to play Halo Reach on it. Blissfully unaware that that was not gonna happen. I believe he told Mike that it had something like a terabyte of RAM or something? I don't know if he was getting it confused with the hard drive. NPC! Yay! Conversation time.
You're an ordinary human, aren't you? Where do you call home? Dear me, I shouldn't pry. Oh, perhaps you'd like something from my collection. I've had better days. I was once the wife of royalty, and I have some nice things to show for it.
What do you have for sale? She's Widow's Lotus for sale. That cures plague. She also has, the Poison Lotus.
Before, there were many others trapped here, but they went mad and ventured above of their own volition. Redemption? There exists no such thing. The Queen banished her depraved old husband from the land. He returned in strange golden garb with foul demons in tow. They pillaged great Latria, land of the learned, and locked us in this dungeon. Since then, they've been feeding off our souls, telling us over and over that if we go above, we will be granted redemption. I know the truth. The church goddess may die, but never for long. And we are trapped below forever. Redemption? There exists no such thing. Telling us over and over that if we go above, we will be granted redemption. The church goddess may die, and we are...
Okay,
Redemption.
so that looks like all that
Well,
the
that's-
once royal wife has to say. She's actually one of the more illuminating NPCs in the game. She's also the NPC that we've heard singing throughout our journeys in the upper half of the Tower of Latria so far. You can hear her song faintly in the distance. So she foreshadows a lot of important things and reiterates what the Archstone description says. So she told us the short version of the tale of Latria and how it fell to this ruinous state. She tells us that the Queen of Latria, for reasons unknown, banished her husband, and her husband returned in a strange golden garb. This is setting up the final boss for World 3 of Latria. Or World 3 Latria. And the Queen's husband's revenge, the King's revenge, was to imprison her and the inhabitants of Latria in this tower. And she also foreshadows, she foreshadows the boss for this world. She mentions that the goddess may die, but she will always return. And let's talk to Freke real quick before I continue.
Oh, human are you? I am Freke. I have been trapped here for ages. Perhaps you could help me get out of here. I am a sage, and I can lend you my power in return. Oh, take heed of those octopus-headed guards. Perhaps you could help me get out of here. I am a sage. Oh.
Alright, Freke doesn't have anything terribly important to say. He does have a lot of very powerful spells to teach us when we eventually rescue him, but we need a key that comes from a later part of the level, which we're going to keep progressing towards now. So anyway, the important NPC between Freke and the once royal wife was telling us before that something along the lines of the church goddess may die, but she'll always return. And that's an important aspect of the boss fight coming up. And I believe that key unlocks... No, the key does not unlock either of these. I think it unlocks the one in front of us. Yes. And she also foreshadows part of the story arc for the second level of this world, 3-2. And she has a few lines about how the prisoners are promised redemption if they go up above, if they ascend the tower. And we'll deal with that more once we finish up in this level and make our ascent through the rest of the levels in the world. For now, though, we're going to keep checking the cells systematically like we've been doing throughout the whole Let's Play. Yeah, we've been in the Tower of Latria through the whole Let's Play. Oh, Octopus Guard. Through the whole Let's Play. Now, through the past few episodes. I'm not sure how many it's been so far. Trapped in the darkness for so long that I've lost my perception of time. I'm being real careful about these cliffs, or about these ledges now, because I would like to not die. But Rydell's coming up, and he has some important stuff for us, too. I think.
Well, you are a sane one, aren't you? My name is Rydell. Please, liberate me from this cell. I have precious little time. I must retrieve an article from my corpse. As you can see, the only thing that remains of me is my soul. My body is trapped in another cell. I fancy it a fine, rotten mess by now. I've no interest in my corporeal flesh, but I left upon my person A keepsake of my late wife. I will soon fade into the beyond. My only wish is to do so near that token of my beloved.
And the third NPC we meet in 3-1 is the Blue Phantom of Lord Rydell.
A retainer to the king once held the key to this cell. That ebony swine with his gluttonous, swaying belly. As you can see, my body,
Okay. So Rydell says something that I find very interesting. He uses a particular phrase. By the way, this is, I think, the debris that clears out when you come back here in Pure White World Tendency. The phrase he uses that I find so interesting is he refers to his body as his corporeal flesh. And I can't remember if I've had this conversation yet in this playthrough with the morose Blue Phantom back in the Nexus, but he eventually asks us, once we've progressed enough, and his madness has taken even fuller grip of him, if we've seen his corporeal flesh. So the first time I played this, I kind of wondered whether or not the two of them were connected, the morose Blue Phantom in the Nexus and the Blue Phantom of Lord Rydell, but there's not much to substantiate any kind of a connection there. And you can probably more easily attribute the morose Blue Phantom, or what is it, the crestfallen Blue Phantom. I've been calling him the morose Blue Phantom. Either way, it's a fandub nickname. It's just the commonly accepted term. So the crestfallen Blue Warrior, you can kind of attribute his ramblings to his refusal to collect souls and thus diminish the loss of his sanity that beings in this world experience without the harvesting of souls. Just wanted to go back up there to check and see what was around. Still not terribly lost. Ah, there's Freke. No, but the key to Freke I forgot was, I think it's the one you get in front of the crossbow machine. Which is... where is that? Is that somewhere out here? I can't remember. No, I still have a ways to go to get to the crossbow machine. Just gonna do some exploration in the meantime. And I hear the song of the once royal maiden, her once royal mistress. Was she a mistress? Might be just the once royal wife. I really love the story of Latria, and it's one of those just frustrating things where I know so much more than I can say right now because I don't want to spoil the revelation, or I want to time it better, but man, there is going to be quite a lot to talk about in terms of the arc of this whole world. In the middle of 3-2, a lot towards the later parts of it. 3-2 is just, oh man, such an amazing level. Not that I don't like 3-1, it's just 3-1 feels a little meandering. Couldn't get into that cell yet. Unfortunately, I can't remember what's behind that. Oh, and to rescue Lord Rydell, like I said, we need a key that we can only get in Pure White World Tendency in 3-2, and then we have to backtrack to 3-1 to unlock Rydell's cell. But hey, by then, we'll also have Pure White World Tendency for the entire world, so backtracking won't be that bad, because then we can also come and check out where the debris would be cleared out from. I think the further you go down this hallway, some of the cell doors start to be locked. Could be wrong about that. Let's just find out. There doesn't appear to be anything in here. Just keep going cell by cell. Be very systematic. Watch out for ledges. Ledges will kill you. Or they will just scare the shit out of you sometimes. Sometimes the game just likes to watch you scream. It's I mistook that for mercy in the last episode, but no. Just likes to watch you shit your pants, sometimes lull you into a false sense of security, then kill you. It's actually the opposite of merciful in that regard. So, with little else going on right now, I want to talk a little bit about the development of the game and... Oh, there's some fluted armor. The development of the game and what the game took some of its inspiration from. There is a series of books called the Fighting Fantasy series that served as a pretty direct source of inspiration for Demon's Souls. Not in that they aped a lot of the concepts from it, but it inspired this style of dark fantasy that the Demon's Souls, the Souls team and the Kingsfield team at From Software are so obsessed with. They were a series of role-playing books made by Steve Jackson, and I think the other guy is Ian Livingstone, who were two of the founders of Games Workshop, which you probably know best for Warhammer. So the Fighting Fantasy books played out like a choose-your-own-adventure, except you had things like stats and dice rolls to determine the outcome of events and which pages to progress through, which is a super awesome idea, and I've unfortunately have never read any of them, but definitely want to check them out at some point. I want to get through like my gigantic backlog of my gigantic reading list backlog. So there are a lot of... I mentioned a game called Kingsfield just a second ago when I was describing Fighting Fantasy. And Kingsfield was the predecessor of Demon's Souls and, of course, Dark Souls, given that Demon's Souls was the predecessor of that. Kingsfield was much like this series. It was a dark fantasy role-playing game. Before I go on with that, these guys can be really, really nasty to fight. They're giant... I love the monster design in Latria. There's so many cool, grotesque creatures like this. There's the octopus guards. There are a few really neat enemies in the next level. These guys are also kind of dangerous. If you fight them from range, they're super easy to deal with because they take a long time to charge up that soul arrow. If you fight them at melee, though, you have to be really, really careful that you have enough stamina to either get away quickly or block a lot of hits. Oh, God. Because when they stick their arms out and they start flailing about, they chip away at your stamina faster than you can believe. It's insane. I can't overstate enough how dangerous they are in melee range once they start swinging. You can catch them really often with a guard down, and then they aren't a threat at all. You have to watch out for them flailing swords around, though, and just stick out tons and tons of limbs and go to town. So Kingsfield. Kingsfield was a dark fantasy role-playing game that it was rough, and it predated Demon's Souls by far, but it was the game that the team at From Software that eventually went on to make Demon's Souls cut their teeth on. With the exception of the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, who didn't work on Kingsfield to my knowledge. He worked almost exclusively on the Armored Core series, which, if you didn't know, From Software also makes Armored Core. And I'll forgive them for Armored Core 5, because I love the Souls games. They also made a game called Tenchu Z, by the way, which is really, really fun. Made a lot of games. I'll get to that in a minute. God, it's kind of rambling. And this ledge scares the shit out of me. Don't like walking on ledges. So yeah, Miyazaki was the director for this game, but he didn't work on any of the Kingsfield games previously. He loved that dark fantasy setting, though, and that's that, Kingsfield, their pedigree with that game, the fighting fantasy books, those were all major inspirations for him when he headed the development of Demon's Souls as the director for the game. And there are also a lot of references to other From Software games gently placed in this game as Easter eggs. For instance, I think the Dragonbone Smasher is a good one to start with. The Dragonbone Smasher and the Armored Spider are both also from another game that From Software made called Ninja Blade. It's a relatively recent, current generation game that is a little bit rough. It's more action-focused, fast-paced action, character action game. Pretty fun, though. The Dragonbone Smasher and Armored Spider don't appear by those names in the game, but their likeness is pretty easily recognizable. And there's also the long-standing presence of a weapon called the Moonlight Sword, or the Moonlight Greatsword, or the Greatsword of Moonlight, however, whatever iteration it appears in the games. I'm gonna fast forward here for a sec, real quick. Okay, so the Moonlight Sword started appearing in, I think it was Kingsfield that they started doing the running theme of putting the Moonlight Sword in. And it's a giant crystalline blue blade that looks like a little bit like a teal version of Cloud's Buster Sword. Gonna get it eventually. It shows up in 5-2, so it's gonna be a while before we see that. And it's been in, I think, almost every From Software game. It's been in Otogi. Oh, and there's also a weapon in Otogi called the Locust Wing, and it looks a little bit like, it looks actually exactly like a weapon called Blind, which again we're gonna get from 5-2 much later on. There are some Tenchu Z references, but I don't actually remember what they are. Oh, you know, I was saying the Moonlight Greatsword shows up in most of From's games, and that's not just limited to their more, like, fantasy setting kind of games. They also show up, it also shows up in Armored Core in one form. I believe it's something like the Moonlight Laser, the Moonlight Cannon or something. It's pretty cool. See, I believe those two hallways pretty much lead out to different stairways and converge. Am I right about that? No, it's just I can't get the words out. No, I think they just circle around and loop and meet back where we entered, right? Ah, no, one of them leads out to this gate. Forgot about that. And out here, if you go far enough along the ledge, I believe there is a Mercury Rapier, along with, I believe, the Stone of Ephemeral Eyes. I think we already got that, right? In case I didn't, I'm just misremembering. To get the Stone of Ephemeral Eyes, remember back where the crossbow machine was, the arrow machine? If you cross straight over while its fire is interrupted and you drop off the ledge right there, there's a little ledge you can catch at the drop. That's where the Stone of Ephemeral Eyes is. To get the Mercury Rapier, I believe you just follow the ledge right above the stairs over here. But I'm not going to go for that just yet because I've had enough near-death experiences with ledges today. Trying to remember some other cool little Easter eggs. Let's see, what else was there? There's also a character in Armored Core whose name was Ord Starva or something? I'm not sure. I'm not terribly familiar with Armored Core games. And of course, that is some kind of permutation, or became a Strava They also made the second 360 game I ever played after Full Auto, which was Chrome Hounds. Also, I'm going to do a little bit of fast forwarding here. Okay, so what's inside this one? There are two sides to this. Nothing. Fast forward again. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be a couple bits like that in this episode. They're just, you know, quick little segments of fast forwarding. Because you get these really long stretches of hallway that where nothing actually occurs, and there's a bit of running back and forth in this section. Here we can finally turn off the arrow trap. The arrow trap where we got key in the Clever Rat's ring. The Clever Rat's ring, I forgot to mention, has a description on it that... Oh no, that's the Clever Rat's ring. It was mixing up where things were. Wait a minute. To get something straight in my head. Okay, I thought that the Clever Rat's ring was on one of the corpses that was accessible, but no. The Clever Rat's ring, the description for it offers an interesting little bit of illumination about who Lord Rydell might be. We know that he's some sort of nobleman. We don't exactly know from where. But before I can talk about him, I'm gonna do some more fast forwarding. Lord Rydell, according to the description of the Clever Rat's ring, was once known as Little Allant, which might make him King Allant the 12th's brother.
What do you want? I am a humble servant. I do not wish to interfere. I won't cause you trouble. I won't.
Let's get the keys.
What do you want? I am a humble servant. I do not wish to interfere. I won't cause you trouble. I won't.
No, you won't. Let's just make sure of that. So usually when you're playing this game online, this area will be lit up with signs that say impending liar. And I'm gonna do a little bit of fast forwarding and explain. What do we have over here? Oh, it was just silver catalyst. Hold your fast forward button tight. Caress it. Stroke its hair. Let it know that you love it. Up here is the baby snail phantom. She is cloaked or otherwise hard to see before we approach her. She might have the grave robber's ring on. And when you approach her from range, she shoots a crossbow. Shit! That baby snail is very dangerous, by the way. It inflicts plague upon you when you are hit by it. Plague being a much, much nastier version of poison. That does more damage. It's not cured by the things that normally cure poison, as I thought antidote might cure it, but nope. Antidote does not cure plague. Only poison. So you have to use a Widow's Lotus, or you have to heal through it until the status effect ends, which I have no intention of doing. Lots to talk about it. Come on, thoughts. Come out of my mouth. Like vomit. Like mental vomit. That's all words really are. Oh, the lying NPC back there is where I want to start. The lying NPC who tells us that he doesn't wish to cause us any trouble would actually cause us a lot of trouble. And this is why I was saying earlier that the once royal wife, who was the merchant NPC imprisoned in a cell back there, she was telling us that the goddess of the church would simply reappear over and over again, that she couldn't be dealt with. That lying NPC up there is why. If you don't kill him before you engage the Fool's Idol boss up here, if you don't kill him, he continuously revives her. So you have to deal with him to defeat the boss. And I'm just going through my armor here to make sure that the armor set I've equipped will give me the highest possible magic resistance, because this boss does entirely magic damage. Not a particularly dangerous boss, but still, if it's worth preparing for, it's worth over-preparing for. The baby snail phantom back there. Nothing particularly notable about her aside from the way you approach her. The weapon she wields I find to be very, very interesting, because the description for it reads, we will eventually pick it up, it's actually behind the altar where the boss is in the church coming up. It's a plague-coated dagger, a curved dagger, and according to the description, it's a dagger that's used by women and children for assassinations, which is just like the most sinister sounding thing. Because it invokes this idea of like these child soldiers, these child assassins of Latria going around with these plague daggers. Man, it's kind of disturbing imagery. I find the church up here really interesting because you can find pieces of the Temple Knight's starting gear in every level except for the Tower of Latria levels. Even Saint Urbane, who teaches the heal miracle that the Temple Knight starts with, is trapped in 4-2. I'm just going to talk over the cutscene because, well, there's no talking otherwise going on in the cutscene, so I'm not going to interrupt any dialogue. The robes that Saint Urbane wears can be found in Latria. Saint Urbane himself, who teaches that miracle that you start off with as in Temple Knight, is trapped in 4-2. But no other pieces of the Temple Knight starting gear, the Myrden or Myrden armor, can be found here. And I bring that up because the description for the class reads that the Myrden armor, or Myrden, I'm just going to call it Myrden, let's just go with that for consistency's sake, is named after the first temple of the church, which is Myrd. So I wanted there to be that connection between that and the chapel here. Like maybe you find a set of Myrden here, but no, there's nothing like that. The filthy woman in the Valley of Defilement sells a set of that armor, so it's possible Myrd used to be in the Valley of Defilement before it became, well, defiled. Given the church connection in the Valley storyline, I guess that furthers the possibility, but there's nothing concrete, and there's not much other reason to believe that this is that particular church. Fool's Idol does not attack before you approach her. After that, she teleports and does... She kind of reminds me of Pinwheel in that she makes a bunch of illusions of herself, and that she's primarily magic-based. Entirely magic-based, I should say. The glowing runes you saw her cast on the ground, they act as traps. Like that! Whenever you walk across a ruined area, you become paralyzed temporarily, and that leaves you very open for attack. She does not have a whole lot of health, though, and even with all of them attacking at once, you don't stand much of a chance of dying. Still, I don't like getting chain trapped. That's annoying as hell. So there's a very easy way to tell which one is the real Fool's Idol. The real Fool's Idol shoots much, much thicker projectiles, and that's the fight. The illusions all shoot tiny little dinky thin soul missiles, or soul arrows. And the Fool's Idol is made in the image of the Queen of Latria, in order to elicit complacence and compliance from the Latrians, I guess, who aren't imprisoned. They worship her as both a goddess and their queen in earnest. You can sneak along the backside here to pick up Baby Snail. Even the name Baby Snail, like, the size of it is the size of a baby snail, and it's meant to be used by children for assassinations. Love that item. Before the cutscene plays, I'm going to cut the episode, because we've already gone for quite a long time in this episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Have a good one.